In the cold silence of deep space, a faint signal echoed through the void. It was weak, almost broken, like a voice crying out in the dark. On board the small human scout ship Aurora, pilot Ryan Hawley leaned forward, eyes narrowing as the signal flashed across his console. "Unknown origin," the computer said in a flat tone. "Distress frequency detected." Ryan tapped the screen, running the coordinates. It came from beyond charted human space, far past the border where most ships dared to travel. He hesitated for a moment. Protocol said to report the signal and wait, but something in that sound, it didn't feel like just data. It felt alive, desperate. He adjusted his course and pushed the engines. The stars stretched into lines as the Aurora jumped into faster-than-light travel. Hours later, the ship emerged into a region of space filled with debris. Chunks of metal floated in silence, glowing faintly from energy burns. It looked like a battle had taken place. Ryan's heart raced as the scanner picked up a faint life sign among the wreckage. He guided the Aurora closer, threading through shattered hulls and broken wings. At the center of the destruction, he found a small pod clinging to life support. The hatch hissed as he pulled it open, and a faint blue light spilled into his ship. Inside was a figure slender, fragile, unlike any human. Her skin shimmered faint silver under the dim lights, and strange markings pulsed faintly across her. Arms big, bright eyes opened slowly, locking onto him. Ryan froze. This wasn't just another alien. There was something human in the fear and relief in her gaze. "Can you understand me?" he asked softly. Her lips moved, struggling with the words, "You came." Her voice was weak, trembling. "You answered the call." Ryan leaned closer. "Who are you? What happened out here?" Her hand reached out, fingers brushing his arm with surprising warmth. "No time," she whispered. "You must save me, or the galaxy burns." The words sent a chill through him. He didn't know if she was speaking in riddles or truth, but the fear in her voice was real. He lifted her gently and carried her to the med bay. Her body was light, almost weightless, as if gravity itself didn't hold her the same way. As the automed scanned her, the computer struggled to classify her biology. "Unknown species," it reported. "Critical condition." Ryan sat beside her, wiping a smear of strange silver blood from his sleeve. "Who's chasing you?" he asked, but she only shook her head weakly. "Not who," she murmured. "What?" The ship's sensors suddenly screamed, alarms cutting through the quiet. Ryan jumped to the console. A massive energy signature was entering the sector, moving fast. Something was hunting them. "Can you move?" he asked her quickly. Her glowing eyes opened again, meeting his. "You must run," she said, her voice now stronger. "If they find us, everything ends." Ryan's fingers flew across the controls as he fired the engines. Pulling away from the wreckage, a shadow appeared behind them, a huge ship, black and angular like a predator in the void. His stomach dropped. He had seen warships before, but nothing like this. Its hull shimmered as if space itself bent around it. Lasers lit up the dark as the enemy ship fired, and the Aurora shook violently. Ryan gritted his teeth and dove the ship into a nearby asteroid field. Chunks of rock spun around them as he weaved between them, the alien ship in pursuit. "Who are they?" he shouted back to the girl. Her answer was quiet, almost a whisper swallowed by the sound of alarms. "The end." He slammed the throttle forward, sweat dripping down his neck. The Aurora barely squeezed through the rocks as explosions tore them apart behind him. When they finally broke free into open space, Ryan didn't look back. He jumped the ship into hyperspace blindly, not caring where they ended up as long as they survived. The cabin fell silent, the hum of the engines the only sound. Ryan turned to the med bay where the girl lay breathing softly. He had no idea who she was, what had happened, or what she meant by the galaxy burns. But one thing was certain. He was no longer just a pilot on a routine patrol. He had answered a call meant for someone far greater, and now, whatever hunted her, was hunting him too. In the dim light of the cabin, her voice came again, Soft but clear. "You are human," she said, almost like a question. "Yeah," Ryan replied quietly. "Is that a problem?" Her faint smile sent another chill down his spine. "No," she whispered. "It's hope." And somewhere far behind them, in the darkness of space, the Predator ship turned and followed their trail. The call had been answered, and the hunt had just begun. The Aurora jolted violently as it dropped out of hyperspace. Ryan's hands tightened on the controls, the small ship groaning under the stress. The alien girl lay strapped in the medbay, her silver-marked skin glowing faintly. Under the dim lights, she opened her eyes slowly, a look of confusion and fear flickering across her face. "Where are we?" she whispered, her voice still soft but clearer than before. "Safe," Ryan said, though his own voice didn't sound convinced. At least for now. Outside the window stretched an endless sea of stars. He had jumped without coordinates, dropping them into uncharted space. No nearby colonies, no patrols, no backup, only silence. The girl tried to sit up, but winced in pain. Ryan hurried over and gently held her shoulders. "You need to rest," he said. "You've lost a lot of whatever counts as blood for you." Her glowing eyes locked onto his. "You do not understand," she murmured. "There is no rest. Not until it ends." A soft alarm broke the moment. Ryan's heart skipped. The sensors were pinging something. Had entered the edge of their range. He swung back to the console, scanning the void. A cold shiver ran down his spine. The signature was faint, but it was them. The same black Predator ship that had torn through the wreckage before. "They found us," he breathed. The girl's voice came steady despite her pain. "They will always find us," she said. "They do not stop, they do not sleep, they do not fear." Ryan's jaw tightened. He didn't know what they were, but he was starting to understand why her voice carried such weight when she spoke of them. He slammed his hands on the console, bringing the engines online. The Aurora shuddered as it accelerated. "This ship isn't made for long chases," he muttered. "We can't keep running forever." The girl's fingers gripped the edge of the med bed, her strange markings pulsing softly. "You are human," she said again. But this time it sounded less like a question and more like a statement. "Humans don't stop." The Predator ship drew closer, its black hull cutting through the stars like a blade. Ryan dove the Aurora through a dense cloud of ionized gas, the static making the panels flicker. Sparks danced across the cabin as the ship's shield strained. He gritted his teeth, weaving blindly through the blinding light of the cloud. Behind them, the hunter followed without hesitation. "Damn it, they're not even slowing down," Ryan shouted. The girl leaned forward, her voice suddenly sharp. "Find a world," she said. "Any world. We cannot fight them in the void." Ryan scanned frantically, his hands flying over the console. A single planet appeared on the display, small and covered in thick atmosphere. "Not exactly a resort," he muttered, "but I'll take it." The Aurora plunged through the planet's clouds, the hull shaking as heat flared across the shields. Ryan's stomach flipped as they broke through into a storm of endless lightning and rain. Visibility dropped to almost nothing as they skimmed the surface, looking for anywhere to land. The Predator ship followed, cutting through the clouds like a nightmare given form. Ryan's hands shook on the controls as a blast from the enemy ship missed them by inches. The Aurora spiraled, alarm screaming. He fought the controls, teeth gritted. "Hold together, girl," he muttered to the ship. "Just a little longer." Through the storm, a rocky canyon appeared below. "Perfect." Ryan growled and dove straight down, the ship skimming so low the ground seemed to scrape the belly. The Predator ship tried to follow, but the canyon walls were too narrow for its massive frame. It pulled up, firing wildly into the storm as Ryan guided the Aurora deeper and deeper until the sensors lost all contact. The silence that followed was deafening. The only sound was the heavy pounding of Ryan's heart and the soft hum of the struggling engines. He turned to the girl, who was breathing heavily but smiling faintly. "You did not die," she whispered. "That is Good, Ryan laughed, though it was more from exhaustion than humor. Glad I could meet your expectations, he said, leaning back in his seat. The girl's eyes met his again. Serious now. You do not yet understand, she said softly. This is not just my fight, human. You are part of it now. Ryan swallowed, staring out into the storm outside. He wasn't sure what terrified him more, the enemy ship above them or the weight of her words. In the distance, thunder rolled through the canyon like a warning. Far above, the predator ship lingered in the clouds, patient, waiting. The hunt was far from over. And Ryan knew one thing for certain: whatever he had stumbled into, it was bigger than both of them. The storm raged outside the canyon, lightning splitting the sky into jagged white scars. Inside the Aurora, Ryan worked in silence, his fingers moving over the cracked control panels. The ship was damaged badly, one engine offline, shields burned out, and the fuel reserves dangerously low. They couldn't run much longer in the med bay. The alien girl sat upright now, her silver-marked skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Her eyes followed him as he checked the systems. You are afraid, she said softly. Ryan glanced back, wiping sweat from his brow. You're damn right I'm afraid. That thing up there isn't going to stop. Her head tilted slightly. Almost curious. Good, she murmured. Fear means you will survive. Ryan frowned, sitting across from her. All right, time to start talking, he said, his voice steady but sharp. Who are you? What are they? And why the hell does the galaxy burn if I don't save you? The girl's glowing eyes met his, and for a moment, the storm outside seemed to fade into silence. My name is Lyra, she said slowly, each word careful. I am the last of my kind, Ryan blinked. Last? As in, they killed all the rest? Lyra's gaze dropped to the floor, her fingers tracing the strange glowing lines on her arm. They do not kill, she whispered. They erase. Every trace, every memory, every soul. Ryan felt a chill crawl up his spine. What are they? He asked. Lyra's voice trembled, not from fear, but from something heavier. They are the Hollow. Ryan leaned back, the name sinking into his chest like a stone. He had heard stories of monsters in the dark, but the way she said it didn't sound like a story. It sounded like truth. They are older than your stars, she continued. They come when a species reaches too far, learns too much. They erase what could become a threat. Ryan's mouth went dry. And you? Why are they after you? Lyra's glowing eyes locked onto his again, and in that moment, Ryan understood why she felt so different. I am not just the last of my kind, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I am the key they could not erase. The Aurora suddenly shook violently, a deep rumble echoing through the canyon walls. Ryan jumped to the console. They found us again? He muttered, scanning the sensors. No ship showed on the radar, but the ground trembled under them. Lyra stood, swaying slightly, her hand pressing to the wall of the ship. They are here, she said. They can smell the key. Ryan's gut clenched. You mean you, he said. Lyra shook her head slowly, her silver hair falling over her glowing markings. No, she said quietly. Us. Before Ryan could speak, a crack of light split the canyon outside. A massive shape descended through the storm, not the black predator ship this time, but something worse. It wasn't metal, it wasn't a ship, it was alive. The creature moved like smoke and steel fused together, tendrils of shadow and light, twisting around a massive, shifting core. Ryan's hands shook as he stared through the viewport. What the hell is that? He whispered. Lyra's voice was steady now, as if this was what she had been expecting. A hunter, she said. The Hollow have found us. Ryan fired the engines, but the Aurora barely lifted, the damaged systems screaming under the strain. The creature turned its shifting mass toward them, and a low hum filled the air. Vibrating through the hull, Lyra stumbled, clutching her head, her markings flaring bright. They are calling to me, she gasped. They know. They know I am awake. Ryan grabbed her shoulders, shaking her gently. "Stay with me," he shouted. "What do they want from you?" Her glowing eyes met his, fear and resolve mixing in her voice. "They want to finish it," she said. Erase the last spark. The canyon walls split as the creature let out a soundless roar. Ryan slammed every control he could, forcing the Aurora forward. Scraping against stone as the ship barely slipped through a narrow passage, the hunters' tendrils lashed out, grazing the hull with a sound like tearing metal and bone. Sparks exploded inside the cockpit, and Ryan gritted his teeth, pushing the ship to its limits. Lightning split the sky as they burst out of the canyon into open plains. The creature followed, endless, silent, unstoppable. Lyra's hands pressed against the console, her glowing markings spreading onto the surface like living light. Ryan stared as the ship's dead systems flickered back to life under her touch. "What are you doing?" he shouted. Lyra's voice was calm now, even as the storm roared around them. "Giving you a chance." The Aurora's engines roared to full power, more than Ryan thought they could produce. The ship shot through the storm like a spear of light, leaving the hunters' tendrils thrashing behind them. For a moment, the horizon cleared, and Ryan felt a shred of hope. But as the ship climbed higher, breaking through the clouds, the black predator ship appeared above the atmosphere. Waiting, Ryan's breath caught in his throat. They hadn't escaped. They had been herded. Lyra's faint voice reached him over the alarms. "Now you see," she whispered. "Now you understand why no one answers the call." Ryan's hands tightened on the controls as the predator ship turned, its weapons locking onto them. He didn't know how they were going to survive. But one thing was certain. Whatever secret Lyra carried, it was worth dying for, and now he had no choice but to protect it. The Aurora spun hard as Ryan yanked the controls, the ship diving away from the predator vessel's first volley. The sky lit up with streaks of fire as the weapons tore through the atmosphere, sending shockwaves that rippled across the storm clouds below. Alarms screamed, the cabin filled with the sound of metal straining against forces it was never designed to endure. Ryan's teeth clenched as he fought the ship back under control. "This is insane," he shouted over the roar of the engines. "We can't keep running forever." Lyra stood behind him, one hand gripping the wall to steady herself, her glowing markings pulsing brighter with every blast that shook the ship. Her voice was calm, too calm. "You can't run," she said softly. "Not anymore. It is time to choose." Ryan turned to her, sweat dripping down his forehead. "Choose what?" Her glowing eyes met his, steady and unblinking. "Life or extinction," she whispered. "You don't understand yet. But they aren't just hunting me, they're hunting everything you are." Before he could answer, another blast ripped past them, grazing the shields and sending sparks through the cockpit. Ryan cursed and slammed the throttle, diving into a thick bank of clouds to hide. "Okay, enough riddles," he snapped. "You want me to risk my life for you? Then tell me why." Lyra moved closer, her voice low but sharp. "My people created something," she said. "A seed. Not of flesh, not of metal, but of life itself." Ryan frowned, his eyes still on the flickering radar. "A seed? That's what this is about." Her voice turned into a whisper, heavy with weight. "The seed can bring life where there is none, or destroy it where it thrives." Ryan felt the air in the cabin grow heavier as her words sank in. "You have it, don't you?" he said quietly. Lyra nodded, her glowing hand pressing against her chest. "I am it," she said. "I am the last living seed." The radar blared again. The predator ship had found them, closing in fast. Ryan slammed his hand against the console. "Then why me? Why a human? There are a million other species out there more advanced than us." Lyra's glowing eyes softened. "Because you are human," she said. "Because you do the one thing they cannot erase. You fight when there is no hope." A sudden flash lit up the clouds as the predator ship dropped directly above them. Weapons ready, Ryan's heart pounded. "We're out of time," he shouted. Lyra stepped closer, her silver-marked hands pressing to the console. The light spreading again through the panels, she leaned in close, her voice a whisper only he could hear. Then make the pact, before Ryan could ask what she meant. The Aurora exploded with light, a surge of energy ripping through the ship like a heartbeat. The controls went dead, and for a terrifying second, they were falling. Then, everything went silent. Ryan blinked, the sound of his own breath loud in the sudden stillness. The storm outside was gone, replaced by an endless void of black and silver. Stars shimmered like distant lanterns, but the planet, the Predator ship, even the storm clouds, they were all gone. He turned to Lyra, his voice a whisper. "What did you do?" Lyra stood perfectly still, her glowing eyes watching him with something deeper than fear. "I bound us," she said. "Your life to mine, your soul to the seed." Ryan's stomach dropped. "You what?" Her voice stayed calm, almost sad. "There was no other way. Now if you die, the seed dies. And so does everything." Ryan stared at her, his heart pounding. "You just made me the biggest target in the galaxy." Lyra's faint smile didn't reach her eyes. "No, human. You were always the target. You just didn't know it yet." A low hum filled the air, and Ryan spun to the viewport. In the distance, shapes moved, dozens of them, sliding through the void like predators circling prey. They weren't ships. And they weren't alive in any way he understood. They were hollow. Ryan gripped the dead controls, his voice hoarse. "Tell me you have a plan." Lyra stepped beside him, her glowing markings flaring brighter than ever. "I do," she said, softly, "but it requires the one thing humans are best at." Ryan glanced at her. "And what's that?" Her faint smile returned, just for a moment. "Breaking the rules." The void around them began to twist, the hollow closing in, their shifting forms blotting out the stars. Ryan felt the weight of the pact pressing on his chest, heavier than gravity. He didn't know if they would survive the next hour. But one thing burned clear in his mind. He wasn't just running anymore. He was part of something far bigger, something that could decide the fate of every world. He glanced at Lyra, her silver-marked hands glowing against the console. "All right," he muttered, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "Let's break some rules." Far out in the dark, the hollow moved as one, and the hunt began again. But this time, Ryan wasn't just prey. He was the human who answered the call. And now, the galaxy's last hope, Asterisk, the void twisted around the Aurora, the hollow circling like predators sensing blood. Ryan gripped the dead controls, every muscle in his body tense. Lyra stood beside him, her silver-marked skin glowing like a heartbeat in the dark. Her voice was steady, but there was weight behind every word. "They will test you now," she said softly. "This is what they do before they erase." Ryan swallowed hard, his eyes darting between the shifting forms. "Outside, what do you mean test? What do they want from me?" Lyra's glowing eyes met his. "They want to know if you are worth saving." A sudden crack of light split the void, and in an instant, Ryan was no longer on the ship. He stumbled, looking around. The Aurora was gone, the hollow gone, Lyra gone. He stood on a barren, cracked plain under a blood-red sky, wind howling across the emptiness. The sound of footsteps made him turn. Out of the dust, a figure walked toward him. It was him. Ryan's own face stared back, but the eyes were hollow and cold. When it spoke, its voice was his, but layered with something ancient and inhuman. "You are human," it said. "Why do you fight?" Ryan's fists clenched, his breath visible in the strange cold air. "What kind of question is that?" The hollow's voice cut through the wind. "Your species is fragile, temporary, one spark in an endless dark. Why should we allow it to burn?" Ryan's jaw tightened, anger flaring through the fear. "Because we don't stop," he said, his voice sharp. "Because even when everything is against us, we keep going. We fight because we choose to live." The hollow's copy tilted its head slightly, as if tasting the words. "Choice," it said softly. "A primitive concept. Yet you cling to it." Its hollow eyes stared deeper into him. "Would you?" Choose to die for one not of your blood, not of your world? Ryan hesitated, and in that moment, Lyra appeared beside him. Her silver-marked form flickering like a dying flame. Her voice was weak. "This is not real," she whispered. "It is a cage. They want to see your heart." The hollow's voice cut through her words. "Would you choose to carry her burden, even knowing it will kill you? Even knowing you will never return to your home?" Ryan looked at Lyra, her glowing eyes filled with something he couldn't name: fear, hope, guilt, all at once. His chest tightened. He thought of Earth, of the blue skies he might never see again, of the family who would never know what happened to him. And then he thought of her, alone in the wreckage, whispering, "You answered the call." Ryan stepped forward, standing between her and the hollow's shifting form. "I don't care if she's not human," he said, his voice steady now. "I don't care if this kills me. If protecting her is the only way to fight you, then that's what I choose." For a long moment, the hollow said nothing. The air grew still, the red sky fading to black. The hollow-eyed copy stared into him. And then, for the first time, it smiled, not with warmth, but with something cold and knowing. "Then you are human," it said, and the world shattered. Ryan gasped as the aurora snapped back around him, alarms screaming. Lyra collapsed against the console, her markings dimming. As if the test had drained her life, he caught her before she hit the floor, holding her against his chest. "You okay?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Her weak smile flickered. "You chose," she whispered. "You passed." Outside, the hollow shifted, their massive forms pulling back slightly. They weren't gone. But they were. Waiting, Ryan stared through the viewport, his hands shaking. "What the hell did I just pass?" he muttered. Lyra's voice was faint but clear. "You proved why humans are different," she said. "Why you were the one who answered the call. Now they know you will fight for more than yourself." The aurora lurched suddenly, systems flickering back to life as if the ship itself had taken a breath. Lyra's glowing hands pressed to the console one last time, and she whispered something. Ryan couldn't hear. The lights steadied, the engines roared back, and for the first time since the hunt began, the Predator ship above did not fire. Ryan sat back in the pilot's seat, sweat dripping down his face. "All right," he muttered, staring at the enemy ship through the void. "You want to test humanity? Fine. But you're going to regret picking me." Lyra leaned weakly against the seat beside him, her glowing eyes meeting his. "They won't regret it," she said softly. "They will fear it." Outside, the hollow shifted in silence, and somewhere in the endless dark, the galaxy held its breath. The aurora drifted through the void, its engines burning low but steady. For the first time in what felt like forever, the Predator ship did not fire. The hollow shapes lingered in the distance, vast and silent, as if watching, waiting. Ryan's hands stayed tight on the controls, even though there was nowhere left to run. His voice broke the thick quiet. "So, now what?" Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat, her silver-marked hands resting in her lap. Her eyes were closed, her breathing slow but deliberate. When she spoke, her voice was soft but carried weight. "Now the seed wakes." Ryan frowned, glancing at her. "Yeah, about that. What does that mean exactly?" Her glowing eyes opened slowly, locking onto his with a seriousness that made his chest tighten. "It means the galaxy will change," she said, "and so will you." Before Ryan could ask, the ship's lights dimmed, and a low hum filled the air. It wasn't mechanical, it felt alive, pulsing like a heartbeat through the walls of the aurora. Lyra's markings flared brighter, the light spilling out of her skin and crawling across the cockpit walls like living veins. Ryan's breath caught as the light reached his hands on the controls, and then sank into his skin. "What the hell is happening?" he shouted. Lyra's voice was calm, but her eyes held a trace of sadness. "The pact was only the beginning," she said. "Now you become what the hollow fear most." Pain lanced through Ryan's chest, forcing a cry from his throat. He doubled over, clutching at his heart as the light seared through him. Memories that weren't his flashed behind his eyes, worlds of silver forests, cities of crystal towers, voices speaking in a language older than stars, and then, fire. He saw Lyra's people burning, not from flame, but from being erased, their lives, their histories, everything. They were swallowed by the hollow's endless dark. Ryan gasped as the vision snapped away, his body shaking. Sweat cold on his skin, he looked at Lyra, his voice hoarse. I saw them. Your people. They were beautiful. Lyra's faint smile didn't reach her glowing eyes. They were alive, she whispered, and you carry them now. Ryan blinked, his breath catching. What do you mean I carry them? Lyra reached out, her glowing hand pressing gently to his chest. You are human, but you are also the seed now, she said. You are the last spark of a dead civilization, and the first spark of something new. Before he could respond, the ship jolted violently. The Predator vessel outside moved suddenly, its massive black hull shifting as if reacting to what had just happened inside the Aurora. The hollow shapes stirred in the distance, and for the first time, Ryan felt something from them. Not hunger, not malice, but fear. Lyra stood slowly, her glowing markings bright enough to bathe the cockpit in silver light. They know, she said softly. They can feel it. The seed has chosen a human. Ryan's stomach twisted, his mind racing. So what? They're scared now, so they just leave us alone? Lyra's eyes met his, calm but steady. No, she said. Now they will come with everything they have. As if her words were a signal, the Predator ship's hull rippled, and a soundless shockwave spread across the void. The hollow shapes in the distance turned, moving as one, their vast forms closing in. Ryan's hands flew over the controls. Great, now we've pissed them off. Lyra placed her hand over his, stopping him. No running, she said, her voice sharp now. No more hiding. Now you fight. Ryan stared at her, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. Fight? With what? We're in a scout ship held together. With duct tape and luck. Lyra's faint smile returned. You are human, she said. You make weapons out of duct tape and luck. The cockpit filled with the living light again, flowing from Lyra's skin into the walls, into the engines, into Ryan himself. The Aurora groaned as if alive, the dead metal becoming something else under their combined touch. Ryan felt the ship's systems connect to him, not just his hands, but his heartbeat, his thoughts, his will. For the first time, the Aurora wasn't a machine, it was an extension of him. He grinned despite the fear pounding in his chest. All right, he muttered, his fingers tightening on the controls that now pulsed with life. If they want to fight, let's give them one. The Predator ship fired first, a beam of black energy cutting through the void like a blade. Ryan moved without thinking, the Aurora twisting out of the way with impossible speed. Lyra's voice was steady, her glowing hands guiding his. You are not alone now, she whispered. You carry more than yourself. The hollow closed in, endless and hungry. But for the first time, Ryan didn't feel like prey. For the first time, the human in the small broken ship felt like the spark of something unstoppable. Far in the distance, the galaxy seemed to tremble. Because a choice had been made, and a human had awakened. The void burned with light and shadow as the hollow closed in, their shifting forms blotting out the stars. The Aurora pulsed with living energy, its metal hull glowing faintly as if alive. Ryan's hands gripped the controls. But now it felt different. He wasn't flying a ship anymore. He was the ship. Lyra stood beside him, her silver-marked skin blazing like fire, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. This is it, she said softly. If we fall here, everything ends. Ryan swallowed hard, forcing his voice to stay steady. No pressure, he muttered. Lyra's faint smile held no fear. Humans work best under pressure, she said. That's why the seed chose you. The Predator vessel moved first, its massive black hull splitting open like a wound, revealing a core of swirling void energy. The hollow forms around it shifted, merging into the ship, feeding it until it became a single monstrous entity. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. Oh, that's not good. The Aurora vibrated under his hands as if sharing his fear. Lyra stepped closer, placing her glowing hand over his. Do not think like prey, she whispered. You are the fire now. The Predator ship fired a beam of pure void, the black energy ripping through space toward them. Ryan didn't think he felt. And the Aurora moved like lightning, twisting through the darkness, the beam grazing their shields but missing. For the first time, Ryan heard a sound from the hollow, not a roar, not a scream, but a ripple of surprise. A grin broke across his face despite the fear. Yeah, that's right, he muttered. Humans don't go quietly. Lyra's voice cut through the hum of the living ship. Ryan, she said softly, you must understand. This fight is not about killing them, it is about choosing. He frowned, weaving through another blast. Choosing what? Her glowing eyes met his, steady and calm, even as the world burned outside. Choosing what humanity will become. Before he could respond, the Predator ship lunged, closing the distance in an instant. The Aurora dove into the storm of hollow tendrils, weaving between them like a spark through dry wood. Ryan felt every hit, every graze of void energy like a bruise on his own skin. Lyra. He shouted, we can't keep this up forever. Lyra moved to the center of the cockpit, her glowing markings spreading out like veins of light into the walls of the ship. Her voice was calm but sharp. Then we make the last stand, she said. Not running, not hiding, show them what it means to be human. Ryan felt the ship surge under him, energy flooding through its veins and his. The Predator vessel turned, tendrils reaching out to crush them. Ryan's voice was steady now, his fear burned away into something else. All right, he muttered. Let's show them. The Aurora shot forward, straight into the heart of the hollow storm. Lyra's voice rose, speaking words in a language Ryan didn't understand. The living light inside the ship flared, meeting the black void outside in a blinding explosion of silver and shadow. For a moment, Ryan saw everything. Earth, Lyra's lost world. 1,000 civilizations rising and falling like waves. He saw the hollow not as monsters, but as something older, something that existed to keep balance by erasing what reached too far. And he saw humanity, small and fragile, but burning brighter than anything else in the dark. The explosion faded, and silence filled the void. Ryan opened his eyes. Slowly, his breath shaky. The Predator ship was gone. The hollow shapes had scattered, their vast forms dissolving into the endless dark. He slumped back in the seat, his chest aching like he'd been holding his breath for a lifetime. Did we win? He whispered. Lyra turned to him, her glowing markings dimming slowly. Her faint smile carried both relief and sadness. You chose, she said softly, and the hollow heard you. They will not erase humanity. Ryan let out a shaky laugh, rubbing his face with trembling hands. Well, that's good news, he muttered. Bad news is, I have no idea what I chose. Lyra stepped closer, her glowing hand pressing to his chest. You chose to fight not for power, not for survival, but for life itself. She whispered, that is what they cannot erase, and what they will always fear. The Aurora floated silently in the void, the storm gone, the galaxy stretching endlessly before them. Ryan looked at Lyra, a faint smile tugging at his lips. So what now? Her glowing eyes softened. Now. You carry the seed to where it can grow, she said, and humanity decides what kind of galaxy it wants to make. Ryan leaned back, staring at the stars. Guess I'm not going home anytime soon, he muttered. Lyra's voice was soft, almost a whisper. You are home, she said, wherever you take the seed. That is home now. Ryan's hand tightened on the controls, the hum of the living ship under his touch. For the first time, the void didn't feel cold. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was running. The hunt was over, but the story of the human who answered the call was just beginning. Ask ChatGPT.